Okay, we have a psychedelic related question from one of our friends on Instagram. So I'm gonna read out the question and provide my personal input on it. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys watching this are going to relate to this. So, hey bro, long time no speak. I saw your video on why you stopped psychedelics. I had a similar experience. Although my last trip was a traumatic trip, very rare for me, and left me sometimes experiencing depersonalization slash realization. What are your thoughts on those words? Have you experienced it, and how does one go about getting out of that mindset? I've improved a lot over the months, but still I occasionally slip into it. So this question was asked back in October, and our friend basically messaged me just very recently saying, I didn't see the video, so maybe did you make it, did you not make it? I can't remember if I answered this question. I can't remember, maybe I did a few months ago, but it doesn't hurt to go over it again because it's a common thing to experience when you do psychedelics. A sense of depersonalization. So the word depersonalization meaning you are no longer identified with the person that you thought you were. So D, right? When you say decaf coffee, mean the caffeine has been extracted out of it, so it's decaffeinated coffee. So depersonalization, it means the person has been taken out of it, extracted out of the experience, leaving you with what is, which is just no doer, an atman. Really, there's just life is a happening, life is a process, and there really is no one doing anything. There are just things happening, and this sense of person, this personality, is but an illusion, and that is absolutely true. Now, you experiencing depersonalization is you coming face to face with a different way of perceiving reality. Let's call it another way of experiencing reality. I was going to use the word higher, and you might think of it as a higher way of experiencing reality. There is definitely a lot of liberation and freedom because you don't have to be anyone. You don't have to stick by the personality role that you have been assigned. The role from central casting, right? It starts off being a very restrictive role, like here you're a man and you're supposed to be a tough man and you're supposed to be strong and you're the fitness guy, you're supposed to be motivating people. So essentially central casting casts you for a particular role, and then that's your personality, that's the type of person you are. Oh, I'm a good person, I'm a fitness person, I am a tough guy, I'm a strong guy, I must be strong for those around me. And that's your personality. We refer to it as the personality. Now you take mushrooms or acid, and suddenly you're not that personality anymore. You are just the observer, the experiencer, and in fact you probably could start to giggle at all the roles that you have been taken so seriously in your own life, and you start to really giggle at society. Like I have had trips where I took mushrooms, I went out to society, and I was just cracking up like a crazy maniac because you realize, oh wow, everybody's taking the role so seriously, their personality. Now, you're experiencing, I mean, you said your last trip was very traumatic, and you said it's a rare thing, nevertheless, you're experiencing cognitive dissonance, which is you're trying, or what I'm assuming, I'm purely in the realm of speculation. What I'm speculating is going on is you're jumping levels, meaning you come into this world, you're assigned your role by central casting. Let's call central casting society. Let's call it, even go on a bigger role and call it the cosmic council, the ones watching over all of the system of reincarnation, etc., which is really no other than yourself, the one. And you're just sort of experiencing yourself in all these different roles. So, you come into the world and you are wired and programmed to become a certain role. That is your mind-body complex using culture, which is just the operating software. So if you grow up in America, in the United States, you are under the influence of the software of American and all that comes with it. All the, consumerism, capitalism, mannerism, social interactions, all these things, they're part of the software. We call it, in this case, the United States of America software. Combined with all your previous experiences as a child and your parenting and all the different experiences, you're the accumulation of that, the program running off. Now, when you take psychedelics, all that programming is thrown out of the window because you see it for what it is. You just see it as programming, and then you see it as illusion, as very fragile and can be changed just like that. Okay? Psychedelics, by the way, are one of the most powerful tools to reprogram your mind and to reprogram your body and release emotions and release tension. Anyway, that's for a different video. And then you experience this expanded sense of self, like I don't have to just be in this personality. Now you come back, you come down. You always come down from acid, you always come down from shrooms. You're not in that state. I mean, you're in it for the most 8 hours. 5 hours usually, and then you start to come down. And then 3-4 days down the road, it's like, here I am, back into my role. And I guess what's happening, my speculation, is that sense of depersonalization that you're talking about is you're coming down back to your role, but you're now resisting the role. You're like, I feel restricted because it really feels like you're chained now by the role. And you're experiencing you're having a difficult time integrating this expanded sense of self with this role that you now have found yourself back in. So essentially, what tends to happen with psychedelics is we try to take a leap. We try to make a jump. Let's say there's like a cliff here. Okay, this is the cliff. And you're here and you want to make the jump into here. This is the kingdom of heaven. This is the sort of isness, the oneness, the I am, the bliss, Ananda, right? And then you're here, that's your role, that's your personality, that's what central casting has casted you to be, okay? And what tends to happen is you try to make the jump, but you're not exactly such a terrific jumper. And so you end up falling into this cliff, into no man's land, into the dark night of the soul. What you're experiencing is the dark night of the soul, where the psychedelics got you to experience that, but you gotta come down. You gotta come down. You come down. You come down. What are you gonna do? You're gonna come down, and then you're like, it's frustrating because you wanna be there already. But of course, you can't just keep using psychedelics to do that. Eventually you come down. So then now you're experiencing this sense of despair, the dark night of the soul, like, this is boring. I can't even talk to people. What do I explain to them here? What do I say? I've had many days of total weirdness after psychedelic big psychedelic trips because I'm like, what do I even talk to people about now? You know, it's like I just want to go up to people and say I love you. And I've tried that, and it's like, it's weird. It's weird for the other people because they don't know that. They don't know that they're love. They don't know that love is that it's actually very ordinary. To them it's a big deal. Oh, I love you. What are you coming on to me? What do you want from me? It's like, no, I just love you. You know, I don't even want anything from you. I just love you. And I tried that. It didn't go too well. I learned as I learned, because most people are, again, those programs running off, right? And that's it. They don't know their love. They don't know their beauty. They don't know their light. So, depersonalization. Now, how do you reconcile that? Well, the integration work, isn't about renouncing your role. It isn't about rejecting your role. It isn't exactly about rejecting society. It isn't that. When you do psychedelics, you certainly see the absurdity of society, and you certainly see how ridiculous it is and how much change needs to happen. And that's sort of, you come down from these trips and you're full of these sort of feelings that you want to change the world for the better. It makes you see all the absurdity of it. But it's not about rejecting your role. It's not about rejecting society. It's about integrating this plane of existence, this plane of reality. Let's call it the psychological social plane of reality. That's one radio station, okay? Being integrated, operating at a higher consciousness, isn't about rejecting one plane of existence, isn't about rejecting one plane of reality. It's about living simultaneously at all these different levels. So you live at the level where you are not your role, you're not the person you are, you're not your personality, you're not your body, you're not anything, you are. That's it. You live at that level. And at the same time, you live at the level of, I am a man or I'm a woman, and I play this role in society, like I'm playing the role of a speaker in front of you here right now, right? The speaker, a public figure. And I'm so impressed by it. Okay? So, what was I saying? So, you play the role, you accept the role. That's what they call in Hinduism your dharma, your duty. You know, you just feel this certain innate duty towards your parents, towards your brother, towards your sister, towards your loved ones. You play the role, you don't reject it, but you don't take it too seriously. And if you don't take it too seriously and you recognize it for what it is, a costume, a role is all it is. And you've played many, and you're going to play many more. And in fact, you're always playing different roles at all times because you're always changing. Like right now you're playing a slightly different role because I'm speaking certain words to your mind. They're entering your mind, and now you even slightly change as a person. Your programming changes. Therefore, even the role you're playing slightly changes. So you're never even really one particular role per se. There's general archetypes and whatnot there's certain scripts that we tend to stick to. You don't have to play by them. You do not have to play. You do not have to restrict your role to anything. Just recognize it for what it is. Recognize the limitations of it and recognize and accept it. Recognize that it's just another plane of existence. This plane of psychological personalities and social roles. You see it as another part of the radio station. And to be at a higher consciousness is to accept and live at all different radio stations. That's basically the metaphor, the analogy for different planes of existence, different planes of reality. You live at all of them simultaneously. You live as the Godhead, as the I am, as the Joker, laughing at everything, laughing at the absurdity of social roles, laughing at the absurdity of society. I mean, society is an absurd enterprise. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I can't tell you how many times I'm walking down the street and I'm getting the giggles, and I can't even control the giggles. I can't even control it. Sometimes somebody might look at me and be like, "Why are you laughing?" It's absurd. It really is absurd. And perhaps the most appropriate response is to laugh, is to look at everything as a game, look at everything as some kind of a joke, okay? Because it is. And accept it and we live within that joke. Like, I have to live within that joke. You know what the joke to me is? The joke is that I am a speaker right now. That's a big joke to me. And the joke is you're a listener. And the joke is we're both pretending, like, I'm pretending that I'm a real person here, and you're pretending like you're a real person. To me, that's all a joke. It's a big joke. And you know, what's even more hilarious to me is when I'm sitting there and I'm like planning. And I'm like, yes, I have free will. I am planning, I am changing things. And the other part of me, let's say the higher part, is like laughing at the whole thing, because I know there isn't anything such as free will, that it's just an illusion. I just have the experience of free will. But I'm living at both levels simultaneously. Here I am cracking up, seeing that it's all absurd. And here I am pretending like I am a real person and really getting into the act, really getting into it. And it takes living at all these different levels of existence simultaneously. Because when you experience depersonalization, is you're trying to live at only one level, which is the higher level, the Godhead level, let's say, the isness. You know, like if you go to a pure state of bliss and ecstasy, you have merged with the divine. Okay? But as it turns out, that to fully finish the work is to be able to be in that bliss, ecstasy, ananda, and still be able to live here at this plane of existence. And a lot of the great gurus, like I can think of Ramakrishna, he used to go into states of bliss and ecstasy. And at those states of bliss and ecstasy, all this world of concepts and social constructs and psychological identities doesn't exist. You're in bliss, you're it. It's like you're having an orgasm times bazillion. When you're having an orgasm, there are no words, right? There's not even like concepts. Well, think of that times a bazillion. That's the merging with the divine, okay? But as it turns out, that even Ramakrishna used to come down from those states and basically talk to his disciples as if he's a master and they're students, knowing fully that he's just dancing with himself, that it's all the one dancing with itself, but still playing out in this role of a teacher, of a guru. And yeah, and that's what it takes. It takes living, like for me, I gotta live as Saeed, the public figure, the speaker, the man, right? The strong man. I like to think of, myself as a strong man. And again, see, the other part of me is like, it's just a complete joke, okay? But I've got to live with both things. Like when I see my parents, I can't look at my dad and be like, Dad, like Baba, you're not really Baba. You're not really Dad. I can't do that. Okay, I gotta play the role here. I can't do that because he's gonna be freaking out. He's gonna be freaking out. It's just like going to a random stranger in the street and saying, I love you. Now, from the level where you are love, it makes total sense. Of course, love is ordinary. Of course you love the stranger on the streets. Like, duh. From that plane of existence. But then, from this plane of social roles and psychological identity, that doesn't make sense. So you're there both. Like, I'll be there with my mom, with my dad, and just kind of talking to them, and Hader Baba means like, as you wish, as you command. Yeah, I'm playing the role of a son here, and I'm keeping the role. But like, again, that other part of me is cracking up, because it's like, we're just the one dancing with itself here, and you're the role of dad, I'm the role of son, and here we are. So it's hilarious. It really is hilarious. So when you experience depersonalization and anxiety from it, that's, again, you trying to live at one plane of existence, one plane of consciousness, one plane of reality, which is the isness, the soul. The soul plane, maybe even beyond the soul plane. The soul plane, you're still individual. Beyond the soul plane is the isness, the pure love, pure awareness, and you're trying to live only exclusively in that state, causing you these feelings of depersonalization, because you don't even, like, I talked in these videos, I said one of my videos was the third person meditation, where you start to speak to yourself in third person. That's a form of depersonalization. So you say, Saeed is making a video, Saeed is going to the bathroom, Saeed is walking, Saeed is talking. And you just kind of see yourself, that's the depersonalization. But here I am, yet at the same moment, still speaking to you as an I, referring to myself as an I. See what I mean? You're existing in both worlds simultaneously. You're getting comfortable with the paradox. The more you get comfortable with the paradox of being the one and yet being the many, the more likely you're going to view everything in terms of the cosmic giggle, the cosmic joke, which is a very, very healthy way of being, okay? Being in the state of, this is all a stage, this is all an act, and it's hilarious. And you kind of get to that once you entertain the paradox, and you entertain being the one and being the many, okay? Because to say I'm only the one, you're still actually caught in the world of dualism. Because to say I am only the one is to say, it's to reject that you're also the many. That's dualism. But to say I am the one, I am the many, that's not dualism. That's not non-advaita. That's basically advaita, means non-duality, not two. It's to say I am the one and I am the many. But try to live only as the one and you're doomed. You're going to experience these feelings of depersonalization. Try to live as the many, like most people are completely stuck in the illusion of separate me and ego, which is also hilarious. And I would personally much rather be stuck in the trap of living as the one all the time, okay? Because I can just go to nature and be the one all the time. But most of us, we're here in society and we got obligations and things to do, right? So most of us in society, like I said, I'd much rather be stuck in being the one all the time. You know, because being the many all the time, not knowing that you're the one, is really, really limiting, really, really restrictive. But still, this is also a trap to be just the one. It's still a dualistic trap. So you do like a self-realized being like Ramakrishna. You experience this ecstasy and bliss, and you also come down and you act like you're the role of the guru, and you have disciples, and you have very important things to say, and you know, you play your act. It's like living at both those levels simultaneously, okay? Get comfortable with that and you should be fine. You should be fine. And that's why the integration work after psychedelics is very, 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 very important. Critical. That you sit down and you reflect upon, what the hell did I just experience? What is this state of being? What is going on here? And you start to read and you look, you know, like I recommend you do some research on Vedanta. Vedanta is a philosophical school in Hinduism, and it really explains all these things to you. A lot of what I'm saying here are things I'm learning from Vedanta, from Advaita Vedanta specifically, which is non-dual Vedanta, but just Vedanta overall. There are schools out there, philosophical schools, that explain to you this whole thing. Like I always talk about how in Eastern philosophy, in Eastern mysticism, they have all these things mapped out. And when we do psychedelics, for us people who are not used to these things, we freak out, of course. We experienced depersonalization. We don't have maps explaining this for us, okay? So look into Vedanta. A lot of what I just said here, I'm learning in Vedanta. Look into Zen Buddhism and Buddhism in general, okay? They have maps for these things, and you sort of become comfortable living in paradox and living at all these levels simultaneously, okay? So hopefully this video helps. I'm sure a lot of people here are definitely relating to this predicament of, you know, experiencing depersonalization and really just total weirdness, okay? So yeah, it doesn't make sense for you to go to strangers and say I love you unless let's say you're on an island and everybody gets that vibe. Like I used to go to a yoga studio and everybody was on that vibe. So it would be very easy to just walk up to somebody and have a small conversation and look at them and be like, I love you. So you gotta really sense out the consciousness of the mass consciousness of the environment that you're in, okay? And yeah, that's about it. Hopefully this helps. I want to extend a special thank you, okay, from the bottom and the perpendicular angle of my heart to our Patreons who are supporting this channel. And honestly, your support has given me has uplifted me so much that we revamping this channel. We're doing podcasts now and live streams and etc. Really, the generosity you guys have shown is incredible, is amazing. It's again, it uplifted me, so thank you very much. Mwah. Here's a kiss for all the Patreons and for all of you guys. If you would like to support us on Patreon, I will leave a link down below for it, okay? If you wanna buy me a cup of tea, I know I'm not drinking anything right now, okay? But if you wanna buy me a cup of tea once a month, then you could do so via Patreon, okay? And that's it. I love you guys, and until next time, may the force be with you.